call to order our White County Board of Education work session to order. Appreciate everyone being here this evening. We do have some sickness that's going around amongst our board and our directors, so we're going to work through tonight with our director on joining us remotely, and so he'll be commenting. He'll be available to ask questions just as if he were sitting here with us. So hope everyone gets well, and those that aren't sick can avoid what's going around. So we'll start tonight covering our consent agenda items as we typically do, and so that way, if there's anything that we want to recognize, pull out for a consent agenda, we can certainly do that. Again, consent agenda items are items that there's unanimous consent that those reports will be passed and no further discussion is needed. So we'll start with going through our agenda items, and so if you look in your packet, the first item is the minutes from our work session that we held on December 12th, 2024. So give you a chance to review that. If we have any comments or corrections that need to be made and updated in those minutes. All right, then we'll move on to, I'm sorry, did that?
Huh?
Then we also have, I think if you're following along electronically, page back one, and it's the meeting from our our regular board meeting minutes that was held on December 12th. Any changes, anything we need to note on the minutes that were taken? We'll give Ms. Stone, before we go too much further, we'll give you a chance to get logged in.
I'll catch up. You go right
Okay.
ahead.
All right. So, if not, we'll move on to the budget amendments that we have for this month. There was one budget amendment that came in late this afternoon, so I will address that with you. But first, the one that was in your packet, it's been requested that we reappropriate monies in from General Purpose School Fund to fund some vocational instructional materials and bus driver expenses, and move that over to maintenance and repair equipment and diesel fuel. And it says the transfer for equipment funds to cover the repair of equipment, and transfer funds from bus driver to cover fuel costs, and this would be for transporting students to the 8th grade career fair at the Heidelberg's facility for a visit to their CTE program there. So no new monies, and it's just a reappropriation of funds that were already budgeted. So any questions on that budget amendment? Okay, then you'll see it's been added in your packet. I think the last file in your packet, but it came in as a request that to amend the categories of in the subfund. This is Fund 142, Subfund 109. This is for IDEA funds, and needing to reclassify funds or move funds categories from non-certified substitute teachers to certified substitute teachers, and this was looks like this is a request that was made from the state, or maybe it was something that was state approved. And Mr. D, if there's anything you need to add for that, but it's really just an account, moving it from one account number to the another. No new funds and are being considered. So, Mr. D, do you want to add anything to that for clarification?
No, just other than it's just from time to time we need more certified subs when we have maternity leaves and things of that nature, extended leave. So we need more money in certified teachers category, and we pay certified teachers more than we do non-certified. So it's just shuffling money to make that happen.
Thank you.
Is this also, Mr. D, is this also where the change comes in for the new monies or the upping of the salary for substitute teachers?
Well, that's budgeted in for the year in both of those categories. And we did raise that, and we've had good success out of that decision, because that allows. We've had lots of substitutes where last year we were having a hard time finding subs. This year we've had a good pool of subs, so it's been successful.
Thank you.
Any questions or comments for that budget amendment request? Okay, then we'll move on. So the next one in our report is the policy report, and so tonight we're going to be having come forward second reading of policies 4603 and 5118. And apologize for on the agenda that shows there's a typographical error there that in 6C that's not needed. So because we're covering the second reading of those policies in the item above that, so there's no action that needs to be taken there. But just a refresher, 4603 was TSBA policy recommendation and regarding promotion and retention, and it gave the local districts opportunity to add additional requirements. It's been recommended by administration that we do not add additional requirements, and so we would be accepting the updates to this policy as recommended by TSBA. So any questions regarding 4603? Anything needs to be clarified on that, Mr. D?
No, that sounds correct, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. All right, then the next policy was 5118, and again, refresh ourselves. This was regarding background investigations, and it was language that on the policy that said the board shall reimburse applicants if the position is offered and accepted. The recommendation was we change that to may to give the administration discretion on that. So that would be just confirming that change, the change in the wording on that. So is any comments, questions on that? Everybody clear on what how that policy will be amended? Okay. While we're on the subject of policy, last month we had we were looking at our policies and going back through our review, and we identified policies that there were questions regarding board as we went through, and I appreciate everyone doing the reviews and commenting on that. But Mr. McDonald, there was one policy, it was
1.201.
Sorry, 1.201. That he did some research on. Is about board officers, and so Mr. McDonald, if you would just speak to that, what you found, and we can.
So we talked about 1.201 being the duties of the officer, and we talked about lines 24, 25, and 26, the chair pro tem, and it says the chair pro tem shall be elected to preside during a meeting when neither the chair nor the vice chair is present. So I reached out to Jennifer White at TSBA and asked her a couple of different questions, and her response to us, I forwarded that to each one of you guys so that you could look at it as well. But she said that that generally the board uses the shall statement to indicate when the board is taking action, and it provides a great clarity. I said, can we change this policy to say the board may elect? And she said, yes, that we can change it to say that we may elect a chair pro tem. And then I went on to ask her, said, when will the notice have to be published that the chair or vice chair may not be in attendance and the chair pro tem will be leading the meeting? She said generally boards do not include an advance notice requirement on that aspect. So we wouldn't have to make a notice if the chair or the vice chair were gonna be out. I guess going from that, she said state law does not speak to this issue, so there's not a state law tied to this policy. And then I asked her, do we even have to have this statement in our policy? I said, could we remove lines 24 through 26? And she said, no, that is not required to be in the policy. The board can remove and then potentially rely on Robert's Rule per policy 1.405, which contains information about selecting a chair pro tem. So we can change that policy to say may elect one, and then refer back to 1.405. So it's whatever the board desires to do on that. I don't really have a recommendation as far as what we do, but just making sure we follow what the policy states.
All right, appreciate that. Just for clarity, Chair Pro Tem would be the individual who would serve as preside during a meeting when neither the chairman nor the vice chairman would be present.
As I said in last month's meeting, I've been here 11 years now, and we've never had an incident where the chair or the vice chair have not been present at either, been out at the same time.
And I would dare say that we have never elected
Not in 11 years we haven't.
Okay. So if you have a chance to pull that policy up and look at it, so the policy says that a chair pro tem shall be elected to preside during a meeting when neither the chair nor the vice chair is present. So that would be, doesn't say that that's one of the elected officers when we have our officer elections, but so we're not talking about an elected position. Think that would mean that if a meeting where the chair or vice chair was not present, that the board would then take it on itself to elect a chair pro tem to preside at that meeting. So thoughts or comments?
I'm like Jason, I don't think that would probably ever happen. But if it did, like I said, at the night of that meeting, couldn't we appoint whoever had the most experience?
That was going to be my suggestion, would be whoever your next senior person on the board would be. If you and I, if Bob and myself were out tonight, it would fall to Sherry as the next ranking member, I guess. So
I think the way the policy, and let's think about this for just a moment. So the way the policy reads, and I guess it's presumed that the election would take place at the meeting, although it doesn't specifically say that in the policy, but it does say it shall be elected to preside during the meeting. So I think we would look at this and say it would be assumed that the board, somebody would make a motion to elect someone pro tem, second, and then once it passed, then that person would
and I would assume that would have to be the very first action of the night at that meeting. If we did not elect a pro tem during the officer elections, normally every year when we do it. If we didn't have it, I would assume that would have to be the very first thing that happened, at that meeting.
We're talking about the board meeting, not the work session.
Yeah, I think, yeah, because work session, you're not taking any, you're not taking any action there, so, yeah, it would be a situation where the board would have to come in and work that out, and, I think in a case like that, since we do follow Robert's Rules of Order, you could refer to that, and you would elect it through that process, motion and second, so, probably here, you probably would, may say, maybe leave it as is, because shall means that you will, may means that,
You can or you can't.
you can or you can't, then you don't technically have a presiding member for the board.
So do we need to put that in under new business and elect, Chair Pro Tem tonight, or do we need to do that? Because if it's shall, it means we shall do it, right?
But I don't think it would be, I think it would be after thinking through this, I think it would be at the meeting.
Okay.
Because what if
At the
that
meeting.
Chair Pro Tem couldn't be there
Right,
either?
right.
Yeah.
You know,
So more than likely, if that happens, you're not gonna have a quorum anyway.
You're cutting it
Yeah.
close.
Yeah.
Yeah, kinda close. Okay.
So, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, ma'am.
I looked at 5 different county districts
Mhm.
around, and so 3 just removed it,
Okay,
and 2 just left it the way it was.
okay,
And so, since we're following Robert's Rules of Order, that's what would happen, is
Okay.
that the pro tem is elected at that meeting
Okay.
when that incident occurred.
That makes sense.
It does.
That makes
Yeah.
sense.
So, I'm okay with just removing it. It removes any ambiguity about, well, when will we do this, and who, and shall, and will, and why even have it?
Yeah.
It's not happened in 11 years now. I say that and I just jinxed it, I know. Flu season's about.
Well, the director just texted me and said, never say never.
I
Correct,
know.
correct, Mr. Dean? Never say never, right?
So leaving it as
That's right.
is.
I've never missed one of these meetings until tonight, in 9 years, but it can happen. While I have the floor here, my thoughts would be, even if you elected somebody tonight, there's a possibility that that person wouldn't be there that night. So I think my 2 cents, for what it's worth, would be to do it the night of and use Robert's rules.
I agree.
okay. So then the question would be, do you change the language to just say refer to Robert's Rules, or just take it out and say, since we're following Robert's Rules, then it is understood that everybody,
I would be in favor of that, just removing those 3 lines from our policy.
okay?
And then follow Robert's rules.
So we're kind of borderline having discussion on, or debating this now, or deliberating on this now, but we're also working through this, so
Why
what
don't
we'll
we
do
Add
is,
it to the new business.
we're gonna add this to new business, and, seems like there's enough interest there that we'll add that to new business. Mr. D, are you updating the, agenda, so that way I will see that and not?
I will.
And not blow through
Yes.
that? Thank you.
Yes, I'll do that.
Okay, all right, then, all right, good discussion, thanks for your feedback on that. Okay, and Mr. McDonald, thank you, and Ms. Officer for going the extra mile and doing some research on that. All right, so, next we'll go into our maintenance report. We were given a maintenance report for January. Mr. Alley is present with us tonight if you have any questions, but, looks like there's, work going on at the, Keene project taking place at the Cassville, with the high school and middle school being next. Maintenance team has done a great job on keep getting the work orders down, and so appreciate them and the administrators cooperating with them. As proposal to reconstruct the boiler and chiller loop and air handlers at the CTE building. And it says be needed because the price was more than it will need to be approved because it evidently more than what was originally budgeted for that. So I guess we will see that at some future meeting. Most major projects are completed, and the high school culinary project is still all that that's in process right now. So schools are open and in good shape with no new problems. So any questions, anything else? Questions
Mr.
on
Alley-
any other?
Mr. Alley, I will say the air conditioning unit looks good out in the gym here at Doyle. Everything was good.
Works good too.
It works good too.
Yeah, we finally got that one done, so
And the new doors, I mean, the door going into the gym looks good.
that's courtesy of the fire marshal. He required that, so, sometimes we make changes and don't really want to, we have to.
I understand.
All right, so, so next, would be a school report, and, since we had a short month, last month, and, I guess we're in 2 days now of the second semester's no school report, so that would be, next would be their budget report that was included in our packet, so, Mr. Smith?
Sure. Revenues are significantly up over December of 2023, but that's simply due to a timing issue. We typically receive a large property tax payment from mortgage companies in December of each year. Last year in 2023, it arrived in January. This year is back on schedule and it came in December. So while revenues are doing well, they're not doing that well. State of Tennessee revenues are ahead of last year. And this is due to the increase in the TISA funding received for FY25, as well as the TISA outcomes payment we received in December for our strong academic performance. That payment equated to $347,382.50. That's pretty impressive. So kudos to the work the schools are doing. Salaries and benefits are tracking right with the budget, are in line with what we would anticipate when compared to last year, so no concern there. When removing the salaries and benefits, the total of all other expenses are lower than this same period last fiscal year by around $250,000, which is good. So the bottom line, we're in the positive. Don't be deceived by the comparison with last year, given that bottom line number for fiscal '24 is influenced by the mortgage property tax payment timing variance previously discussed. That was a mouthful, Chad. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Smith. Any questions, comments regarding our budget report? All right, well, then we'll move on to next item. There in your packet, there were no incident reports, but that was provided to you. Excuse me, no threat assessments. You did have an applicant report for personnel, and you can see the applicants. You can also see the hires and terminations that were in December. We had no hires, had several terminations, primarily in the substitute teacher range. And then the last thing that was skipped, there's no TLN report, so we'll get into the season where there'll be more information on that coming up as our legislatures head back to Nashville. So that covers items on our consent agenda. Does anybody have anything else? Any other questions?
Mr. Chairman Young, excuse me, the secondary budget that budget amendment that came forth this evening, that's in their packet, their electronic packet. It's at the end of the list, so that's that $9,000 adjustment. So if they want to study that and take a look at it between now and the actual meeting, that it is in their packet.
Yes, that's the last file in your packet regarding the reclass, the monies transferred for certified substitute teachers. Okay. So with that coming out of our work session, we're going to review have discussion on policy 1201, and that will be that will be our only new business item as we get to that portion of our agenda. Okay. All right. Well, if there's nothing else, then we will close our work session and let's have our regular scheduled meeting at 6 o'clock. Thank you. January 9th meeting of White County Board of Education to order. If you would please rise, and Mr. Smith is going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'd like to take this time to welcome everyone to our meeting tonight. Appreciate you being out, members of the public, staff, and I'd like to thank Ms. Johnson and her staff for hosting us tonight, making her accommodations for us, and also for the meal that was provided. So thank you very much. We appreciate that. Tennessee Code Annotated Board Policy 1400 states that every meeting of the board is open to the public except where law allows for a closed session. The agenda for the board meetings are posted on the district's website at whitecoastschools.net at least 3 days prior to each meeting. Each meeting agenda by law includes an item reserved for public comment. A sign-up sheet is made available prior to the beginning of the regular meetings. Individuals who have signed up prior to the start of the meeting to speak will be recognized in the order listed on the sign-up sheet at the point in the agenda designated for public comment. Board meetings are streamed with help of Warrior Media for live or recorded viewing. Links are provided on the district website. Attending or speaking during tonight's meeting applies consent for comments and appearances to be used. So with that, I'd like to proceed to the next item on our agenda, and that is disclosure of conflicts of interest. So any board member that has conflict of the items being considered for our agenda tonight, please let that be known at this time.
Mr. Chairman, as I do each and every month, no conflict of anything on the agenda. Just want to make a statement that my wife is a member of the district and as a teacher in our district, and the views that you will hear from me tonight are of my own accord and have no reflection on her, and it's in the best interest of the school and the students.
Thank you, Mr. McDonald.
Mr. Chairman, I don't have any conflict tonight, but my spouse is a employee of our district, so my opinions and my expressions are my own.
Thank you, Ms. Officer.
Mr. Chairman, same here. My spouse does work at the White County High School, but my opinions and my thoughts are my own.
All right, thank you. So, Ms. Sims, please let it be reflected in the meeting that Mr. McDonald, Ms. Officer, and Mr. Smith all indicate that they have spouses working with the district, but nothing on the proposed agenda tonight would constitute a conflict of interest. So, with that said, we will consider approval for the agenda for tonight's meeting.
So moved.
Just a note, thank you, Mr. Smith. Just a note, there was one new business item that was added, and that was consideration of amendment to policy 1201. And then there's also an announcement in chairman's comments regarding disclosures, conflict of interest. Those are the only items that were changed since it was posted. So this time I entertain a motion for approval of agenda for tonight's meeting.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Smith, to have a second.
Second.
Second by Mr. McDonald. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next item on our agenda is our consent agenda. In our work session, we reviewed the minutes for meetings held on December 12th, 2024. There were 2 budget amendments and transfers that were discussed. We have policy. In policy, we're we'll be passing tonight on the second reading revisions to policies 4603 and 5118. We reviewed the maintenance report. We did not have any school report. We had a budget report, and the district's financials are healthy. There was no TLN report, as legislatures have not started their session. We also reviewed threat assessments and personnel reports. So items of our consent agenda that was consented by our at our work session. We agreed that we were all in consent. This time we'll take a vote for passage. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next item is our school presentation. we're looking at Health Heroes, and this time I'd like to recognize Ms. Johnson.
Hey, welcome to Louisville. We are so happy to have you guys here, and I appreciate you guys coming out. As always, thank you for letting me serve this community. I love this building, and I love everybody that's in it. So I will always say thank you every year for allowing me to do this job, because it's not really a job. I get to play school every day like I have since 1984. So, but tonight we're here to honor some students and some faculty and staff members who are health heroes. And so at first is Corey Vigil. You want to come up here for a second? I know he is. The kids are not very happy about this. This is Corey. He is in 3rd grade. Corey has had some health challenges over the years, and he has had to make some choices food-wise that I don't know as adults if we could even handle. He has taken it like a champ. And he has worked with Miss Rhonda and her staff back here too. We're going to talk about them in a second. So he has taken it like a champ. I have learned a lot of stuff from Corey in reading labels that I had never thought of. I'm like, oh, I thought that would be more. So we wanted to, the faculty and staff wanted to honor Corey tonight for all that he has been through the last couple of years, and he is doing a very great job. So this is Corey Vigil. Next is Miss Chloe Miller. Chloe is also 3rd grade. 3rd grade's pretty special. Miss Chloe was in a very horrible fire accident a couple of years ago. She fell into a fire. This child worried about her schoolwork. She's never used it as an excuse. She wanted to make sure all of her friends, towards the end of school, if I remember that correctly, but she wanted to make sure her friends were okay before the summer. And I thought, how many of us would be like, I can't get off the couch and I cannot do that? Not this one right here. She has never used that as a crutch, and she has risen above that. And we love Chloe, and when the faculty chose these two, I couldn't think of anybody better than these two kids right here. So this is Miss Chloe Miller. All right, next is Miss Nurse Lindsay, if she doesn't hate me right now for making.
I'll be there then.
Give her, I'm gonna let her walk, bless her heart. She bless her. Yes. She is our rock star, and if she is out for any reason, you know, maternity leave or things like that, I joke that it takes Sandy and I both to do her job. Miss Sandy runs triage. I get to do all the other fun stuff. The kids tell me constantly, you are not Miss Lindsay. She doesn't do it this way. She gives me this cup, and she was out and for a couple of days, and so I got told repeatedly, when's Miss Lindsay coming back? So one morning, Scott and I were getting the young man out of the car, and I said, hey, guess what? Miss Nurse Lindsay's here today, and he literally danced all the way down. So she is our rock star here. Not only does she take care of the kids, she takes care of the adults, because I can't tell you how many times she has checked blood pressure. You know, hey, my throat's sore. Can you look? Oh, we don't want to talk about it. So Miss Nurse Lindsay is the peppermint giver and the taking care of all these kids. I don't see how she does it. How many kids do you see a day? 30, 40 kids a day on average, and this is when they're all healthy and they're not complaining of sickness. And so we love Miss Nurse Lindsay, and I know these kids do too. So she takes care of everybody at Dole, not just the kiddos. Last but not least, my favorite lunch ladies in all the world. If you ladies will come out. I don't even know if thank you is enough for these ladies. Miss Rhonda Simmons, Miss Sonia Dukes, Miss Tracy Davidson, who is not here tonight, and Miss Kathy Dotson. I do not know what I would do without these ladies right here. They read books in their spare time to students, if you didn't know that. I do have video. They go over and beyond every day, working with kids like Corey. I have food allergies too. We learned, hey, Miss Rhonda takes care of me. She'll be like, don't eat this. You don't need to do that. Or maybe you do, so I can send, Miss Lindsay can send you home. They go over and beyond every day, feeding over 300 kids day in, day out. If they're late, Miss Rhonda, these girls make sure they have breakfast every day. It doesn't matter what time they come in. If they've got to go get something out of their own personal stash, these ladies right here will take care of it. And like I said, thank you is just not enough for these three, because they're pretty special, and we love them day in and day out. My second year here, I had back surgery, and Mr. D called. We were getting out very early, and I was on the couch with my laptop, and Rhonda calls, and she goes, how are we feeding them? We've got to get them out. And so we came up with a plan in about 10 minutes, and she had all kids fed and out the door. in a very quick time. So that's, to get that many trays and plates out. I love you all, you know I'll throw potatoes around for you too, so. And if you ever need them to read to your kids, please let us know, because they do that in their spare time as well. But these are my favorite lunch ladies in all the world. So I know it's they don't like being bragged on, but they are the best, so.
I'll stand behind the short one.
Same, no, I'm done.
Thank you, ladies. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Appreciate that, and appreciate you sharing and the kind words you have for your staff and your students. Parents, you're welcome to stay for the duration of our meeting, but if you need to excuse yourselves, we certainly understand. Appreciate you being here. Speaking of health, our director is not as healthy as he'd like to be, but he has found the energy to join us remotely, and so he will be giving us our district update. So, Mr. Stromberger, we will recognize you at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And again, I apologize for my absence tonight. Our household has been hit hard by some illness, and out of respect for others, I chose to stay away this evening. But I appreciate you and appreciate Ms. Rust's help in making this happen electronically tonight. Personnel reports are in your folders, as you see, for the month. We continue to look good as far as our personnel staffing goes. We could always use some more good bus driving candidates, so if you know any of those, please send them our way. Academically, we continue to celebrate our academic scores. All of our schools are an A or a B on the state report card, which is fantastic. We have 4 reward schools, and we're celebrating them. And I've had a chance to do some media spots here lately and just brag on the great work that's going on in our schools by all those involved. Chairman Young and I are going to go to the next meetings of the White County Commission and the Sparta City Aldermen, and to share some of the good things that are going on there, and we look forward to that. In the area of safety, the lock projects continue at several schools, along with our monthly CERT meetings. Parent Square communication continues to serve us well. We just sent out, you should have probably received, most people in the room, a notification about an hour ago that school will be closed on Friday. This will be the 4th snow day that we've used this year, and we'll have 7 more remaining after Friday. Now, students bank about 13 days worth of days, but we used 2 of those days for teacher in-service. So we started with 11, we used 4. After tomorrow, we'll have 7 to go. So those of you math majors in the room. Financially, you heard the financial report. We're on track with our expenditures, and we're confident that trend will continue throughout the spring semester. This is good news because, as you know, we were concerned about the rising costs and all of our expenditures under TISA funding. So right now, things look good. Athletically, elementary basketball is over, but junior pro season has begun in our schools. The middle school is quickly approaching their tournament time, and the high school is beginning their district play as we speak against Cobb County at home tonight. Building projects, engineers and architects are studying plans for a 6th classroom addition at Doyle, and we're also looking at replacing HVAC systems at the White County High School CTE building. We're also looking at the culinary arts project at White County High School as well. We are back from break. We're back from the holiday break. We were able to get 2 days of school in this week. We will be off again Friday. We'll monitor the roads over the weekend and look and see what Monday holds. Our next scheduled day off is January 20th. That's MLK Day. And this completes my report. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them this time.
Thank you, Mr. Stromberger. Any questions for our director about the district report? Okay. Well, thank you for that, and appreciate you updating us on providing that information for us. So we'll move on to the next item on our agenda, and that's the student representative report. So we'll recognize Ms. McGill and Ms. Sackett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have a pretty short report 2 days in school. We're happy to be back. We're also very happy that we get to sleep in tomorrow. That's exciting. Something small. We have an internal runoff going on in the FFA, and one individual will be selected to go run for Middle Tennessee Regional FFA office. So that's pretty exciting. We'll find out tomorrow, hopefully, who will be sent to go do that. And their first prep course is going to be January 24th at UTK. So whoever that is, we wish them very much luck, and we're praying for their success.
And again, like she said, if we're only in school 2 days, there isn't too much report, but the break was good. And February 15th, in about a month, the Science Club is going to the Science Olympiad competition, where there's like a bunch of mini labs where they're competing against different schools. So that's something to look forward to.
That's great. Is that high school?
Yeah.
High school,
high
that's
school.
great. And where is that taking place at?
I do believe it's MTSU, if
Awesome.
I'm not mistaken.
Great. All right. Well, thank you for the report. Board members, any questions for our student representatives? If I'm not mistaken, our representatives have actually been recommended to represent our district at SCOPE, which is TSBA simulation of public service and serving in the school system, and so very popular program across the state that TSBA puts together, and so I think you ladies are being recommended for that, and so if that comes true, we wish you the best and look forward to a report on that as well. So, all right, so with that, we'll go to our next item on the agenda, and that's public comment. We did not have anyone that desired to be recognized tonight. So we will move on to a new business item. We do have one new business item, and that's a discussion regarding amending policy 1201, some language regarding the pro tem, and this is on the duties of officers, and there's some language in that policy that we were discussing in our work session, so we wanted to bring it to the full board tonight. So,
Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion to amend policy 12.01 to remove line 24, 5, and 6, which talks about the chair pro tem shall be elected to the Board of Education. Since we follow Robert's Rules of Orders, I believe that's a request that can be handled through the Robert's Rules. So I would just like for us to remove those lines from 12.201.
okay, so I have a motion that we amend policy 1201, removing lines 24, 25, and 26 is the language that speaks to chair pro tem. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Officer. Discussion?
No, I don't have any other discussion. I just think that since we do use Robert's Rules, it's just doubling up on something that we really don't have to double up on, and Robert's Rules is going to trump anything that's out there anyway. So I just think it's a good amendment to this policy.
So if we can share this, public understands that we do have policy that as a board we conduct our board meetings under Robert's Rules of Order, and Robert's Rules of Order does specify directions in the event where a chair or vice chair was not present at a meeting. So it was discussed and thought the wording in this policy was a little redundant, could have even been confusing. So in the event that of a board meeting and there was not the chair or the vice chair was not present, they would refer to Robert's Rules of Order to determine about the process of electing a chair and pro tem to preside over the meeting. And so it's just clarity in the policy. Ms. Officer was kind enough to do a little research on that. Would you like to share the research that you did regarding that language in the policy?
So the TSBA has policies across all the districts in the state, And so what I did is I just looked at different districts similar to our size, larger than our size, smaller than our size. Some had the same thing, exactly the way that we had, but some did not. And to me, since we already have it in policy that we follow Robert's Rules of Order, it's just confusing to have something on there because we've spent 2 meetings discussing something that may or may not occur where it's already covered under another policy. And this hasn't been reviewed since 2017, so it's time to do that. And I think just as we're progressing, everything's online now, and so we're okay with moving this, in my opinion.
All right. Any other comments? So we have a motion second to remove that language. I would consider this, unless there is objective, if this passes, that this would be considered, this amendment would be considered first reading of this policy, unless I'm mistaken. Mr. McDonald, do you have any?
I don't think that, I mean, I think you're exactly right.
Anybody else have any experience with that? So we'll consider this motion as we pass it, that amending the policy, and that would be first reading, and then we will come back and have that on our agenda for next meeting. We'll have that as a second reading, so we can get that policy updated and have that in our packets prior to next meeting, and it will be considered for second reading at that time. Any other discussion? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. And I appreciate the work that you've done on the policies, and we'll look to continue that effort over the next month. Next item on our agenda is old business. We have no old business tonight, so that leads to agenda item number 13. That's chairman's comments. So our next board meeting will be February 13th. 2025, and that will be at Finley Elementary. We'll have our work session begin at 5 o'clock and our regular meeting to begin at 6. As a reminder, there is, it's handed out to you for this meeting that as elected officials, we are required to file with the Ethics Commission statement of interest. That is due by January 31st. So please check your email, and you may want to check your personal email because that is more likely where that notice would have gone to. So be sure to check the email and get that statement filed. If you need any assistance, reach out to myself or Mr. McDonald, and with experience on that, and we'll be glad to try to help you with that. Our student representatives are not required to file that statement. So, but if you have any questions, let us know. So that leads us to the next item, which is adjournment from meeting. Just want to say
we need to drag this out a little longer because.
Well, I can. Would say hope everybody has a safe weekend and can weather the storm. But this time we'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Donald. Second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Smith. Any discussion?
Negative.
All right. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Oh my goodness.
Motion passes.
Yeah.
Thank you.